Welcome, everybody, and thank you all for joining us. We're delighted to have so many of you here with us. My name is Conchita Landafont, and I'm the Training and Engagement Officer for Southern England at Glaucoma UK. And I would like to introduce Andreas Findlow. He's the Technology and Equipment Officer for My Vision Oxfordshire. We're going to have two short polls during the webinar, and these to help us see whether the difference the sessions are having. We're going to launch the first one now, and this will stay open for about a minute or two. So while the poll is being launched, so please post any relevant questions here in the Q&A box, and don't forget to like the questions that others have asked, as we're going to use this to identify which questions to answer first. If you're watching on other platforms, please comment on the feed and your questions will be fed into the webinar. Please be aware that if you're using captions on Zoom, they may not be accurately translated, and don't forget to post questions that are on topic in the Q&A. So before we get going, I've got a little disclaimer to read. We are enormously grateful to Andreas for generously giving his time to present on this webinar. We specifically invite speakers who are knowledgeable on the topic being presented. The information shared tonight is based on his own experience and knowledge and doesn't replace individual medical advice. Your circumstances are unique to you, so if you're thinking of making any lifestyle or changes as a result of this webinar, you need to speak to your eye specialist first. Glaucoma UK and the speaker are not responsible for any action you might take as a result of the information you learn through this webinar. So now I'm going to hand over to Andreas, who is going to introduce himself a little bit more and then start his talking about himself.
We're doing a poll, Conchita.
Okay, we've got the poll started. Yeah, so we're going to wait maybe a bit longer and then we'll do the poll.
Everybody's answering the poll, which is great.
Yeah. Well, you're very quick tonight. This is brilliant. I can see quite a lot of you. You're kind of
Poll is
so
done. That's fantastic. 100%.
lovely. Right. So now over to the main event. Andreas, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Andreas Findlow. I work for a charity called My Vision Oxfordshire. I'm a technology and equipment officer, and I've been working for My Vision for almost 3 years now. I see a lot of clients in our resource centre in Oxford, but of course, some people might struggle to get into Oxford. Oxfordshire is quite a big county, and people live scattered all over. So I do also arrange home visits. I should say me and my colleague Jamie, who is doing the same role as me. We help people in the resource centre and out and about around Oxfordshire. And yeah, no day is the same as the last one. We try to sort of tailor what we do to what the client wants to do, and sort of find ways of find the way back to things that you were used to do before sight loss, maybe, if possible, as much as possible. Trying to find ways of doing things that you enjoy and to sort of increase your independence and just quality of life, really, living with a vision impairment. And we're quite lucky to have our resource centre in Oxford, where we can display lots of equipment and technology to people. And obviously, when we do home visits, we're a little bit limited on what we can bring, but we try to talk to the client first and figure out what sort of things might be most helpful, and then try and bring what we can to accommodate what they are looking for. yeah, so that's basically what I do, I guess.
That's really good. So what do you think was the main? Because I mean, it's all very it's brilliant, isn't it? That you have this kind of um, facilities to offer people. So what is
Mm.
the main thing that you would maybe get asked to do? What's kind of like the thing that's gonna your bread and butter in terms of kind of like
Yeah.
your everyday requests?
Well, I guess what most people who have had sight before miss when they experience sight loss. One of the biggest things we get a lot of the time is to do with reading. People who have enjoyed reading before, or just the sort of option to read if
Hmm.
they ever wanted to. So that's obviously a big thing. Um, we have different magnification options that we demonstrate to people. Um, what a lot of people don't realize, or yeah, a fair amount of people don't realize always, is that nowadays you can have quite good magnification options in your tablet or smartphone or other device that you might already have, or might be more easily accessible to you than some of the products that can be quite expensive.
So really good.
So
I sorry, Andrea. So yes.
yeah, so reading is certainly one of the bigger things people come in for, I think.
So would you, if you were there using their kind of like tablet or phone
Mm.
for this, would you part of your role be kind of like helping them with that technology, kind of understanding
Yeah.
how to use
So
it?
for people who aren't familiar with those sort of things, we always try to demonstrate that as well. Um, Also, of course, depending on how open the person is to trying new things, um, because reading with magnification is obviously not the same as the type kind of reading that most people are used to, and it takes some adjusting, takes some getting used to be able to read um, in that way. Um, but we try to um, show a few different options and to see what might be the best option. Um, yeah,
Yeah, so I guess it's not about what you can't do, it's how you can do the things that you still love and finding
yeah,
ways round to make sure that you can still access this. Whether it, I mean, it might, what do you think it might even be maybe listening to an audio book if at some point as well. I don't know whether that would be an
yeah,
option.
yeah. Definitely. For some people are quite set on reading with the vision that they might still have as much as possible, and sometimes even when it's not possible. um, but we try to present all of the different options to people. So even if they're not ready for some of them yet, or they don't like them, at least they know what's available and can make the most informed choices for themselves. And you know, um, yeah, we try to equip people with as much knowledge as we can so that they know what will work best for them. Because obviously, I can't tell another person what will be the best thing for them.
No.
I can only give them the options. Like these are a few different ways of doing it. Is there one that you prefer, or is there something you don't like, and we'll take it from there and try to adjust or accommodate as much as we can.
Absolutely, because I mean we are all different, and
Mm,
even if someone that might have a sort of similar amount of vision would react and deal with things differently. So absolutely, and
mm,
that what makes the world so wonderful. We are all different. I mean,
mm,
I really struggle with audiobooks because I can't concentrate. I like to see the words.
mm.
So I'm guessing that that will be very different for everybody. So and as well, do you find that sometimes you offer people solutions that they may resist, but maybe down the line it takes time to like to sort of for everything to sink in and maybe so the benefit I suppose is knowing what's there, even if they don't want to
Mm,
use those options, and
mm.
then down the line they'll go, oh, you told me about such and such. Can we revisit that and
Yeah,
help me?
yeah,
Yeah.
that does happen definitely. Um, and for some people, it happens quicker than for others. And of course, some people are happy with what they're already doing and don't feel they want to change anything. And obviously, that's fine too. We're not sort of forcing anything on anyone. We just want to make sure that people know what's out there and what the benefits or might be of certain things compared to others. And yeah, because it's tricky to know what's out there. I think certainly the experience I have with my clients that a lot of people don't know what to look for always,
No.
and where to look for it. um, some family members or friends, whoever, might have Googled something and it comes up and it sounds really good and it's quite expensive, and then maybe turns out that you can do the exact same thing with something you already got and you don't have to spend a lot of money, and yeah, it might turn out to be a better solution. So we just want to make sure that everyone, or as many people as possible, know what's out there, and so we can figure out what will be the best option for them.
Yeah, I mean, I get that because I'm guessing it's a huge market and
Mm,
people are always out to make money. But actually,
mm,
sometimes the simplest solutions are the best, and sometimes the
yeah.
cheapest, isn't it? And it's not, but it's sometimes we people we try as humans we try and make things too complicated, and actually sometimes
Mm,
it is simpler than
mm.
we think.
Yeah, and of course there are people who prefer some of the relatively expensive magnifiers. That's the thing they want, and of course,
Hmm.
if that's what they like, naturally they should go for that. But um, just so they know that there are other options that might save them money and still do the same thing, or yeah, just be aware of as much as possible what's available,
So,
I think.
so if we're starting to get some few questions in, so I
Mm,
think what we might do is I'm because I'm intrigued, so I'm going to be asking some questions as
mm,
well. I mean,
mm.
before we answer some of the questions, what is the most oddest? I'm intrigued about the oddest thing that you've been asked as of support or
Oh, wow.
challenging. I mean, they might be the same thing or they
Um,
might be different.
wow. I was My colleague Jamie gets some of the more um, tricky ones more often, I think. Um, he had a client who used to be a photographer who had had a stroke, and that affected um, the sight, but also mobility and things like that, and um, still wanted to do some things related to photography through a computer. And obviously the challenge of the sight loss itself, but then also other things related to stroke with mobility and dexterity and things like that. So sometimes we do get challenges like that, and with certain things that where our expertise is limited to the sight loss, not
Hmm.
necessarily all the things on top. Um, and yeah, one of the most challenging one we had was um, it turned out we couldn't really do very much for her. Sadly, it was a lady who had had a stroke as well, I think, and could only use her eyes to sort of look at a screen and somehow pick out words to build a sentence to sort of figure out what she wanted to say because she couldn't speak. But then she was losing her sight as well, so she couldn't
Oh
see the
gosh.
screen. Um, and obviously, that's very specialized help that she needs. And we weren't necessarily, uh, you know, educated on the kind of software things she was using. Um, so in that case, sadly, there wasn't very much we could do. But that was probably one of the most challenging things. Someone who can't speak and can't communicate in any other way than through screen, and then also losing their sight, so they can't really see the screen very well. Um, and obviously, that's yeah, heartbreaking situation to be in,
Yeah.
and both for them, of course, mostly for them, but also for us, because we want, of course, to help as many as we can, and
Yeah.
it's always sad when we can't necessarily do very much.
No, but I mean, I'm guessing at that point though, you do have other services like the counselling
Mm,
service and other things. So although
mm,
maybe technology um, has reached its limitations, but
mm,
as a sight loss charity,
mm.
um, you're still able to support her in other ways. So
Yeah,
um,
and most people we can help in some way,
yeah,
so that's a
yeah.
positive. Yeah.
So some of the questions, obviously, I know you're not going to answer this, but I'm just going to say it's a detail for Scotland, so Glasgow. So obviously, I presumably that most, and this is making a wild assumption, and I probably going to be wrong, is that most sight loss charities have some form of Andreas. Um,
I guess that varies quite a lot depending on where you are. Sadly, in some places there's not a massive amount of help, and in other places there's quite a bit more. So that's, at least from what I hear, it can vary quite a lot.
so I know that I mean, I'm based in the southern England, so I know I have contact details for some of the sight loss charities that I work with, and we do have a colleague in Scotland, so that might be one to maybe kind of uh, email me or the helpline, and we can try and find some local charities for you. So that will hopefully that will help with that question. And then another one, it says, do you need to be referred or can you self-refer? And this gentleman that in Scotland says he can self-refer, but I don't know whether it does that mean that that is generally a self-refer thing, or is it again specific on the area?
Um, I'm afraid I don't know exactly. In Oxfordshire, you can self-refer. Anyone can call us up and refer themselves or a family member or whatever, really. Um, so yeah, at least with Oxfordshire, you can just call us up at any point.
Oh, and Bob, right. So support groups in Scotland, I'm not sure, but again, if you email me, and we'll get the answer to you what there is, because obviously don't know what there is in Scotland in terms of support, but we can try and get you something. So we've got another question that says, are there any images of what equipment you suggest? So again, we don't have I don't haven't got anything on there, but is there anywhere that we could maybe direct people to do you have anything on the My Vision website that's got the images of the
We
equipment?
we do have some things. We have a few affiliate links to products that we recommend on our
Okay.
website.
I know I've had a
Um,
good dig around on your website. It's brilliant. There's
mm,
some lovely videos and stuff there as well that kind of like that
yeah.
highlight things. So it's a lovely website. So I would suggest to everybody to actually have a really good at thing. And what's just I'll read out the address. Is it www.myvision dot? Let me try and get it up there. Just bear with me. Zoom. So it's www.myvision, all one word, .org.uk. So that will be
Fantastic.
so all the equipment that Andres is talking about will be on their website. So hopefully that will be, and again, I can
And of
there'll be
course,
other areas that will have similar. Um,
yeah.
so we've got a question here, right? So we've got um, someone's been recently diagnosed with glaucoma, but it's in the family.
Mm.
Unable to see her reflections. Any recommendations of aids if she's unable to? So if she can't look in the mirror, so thinking, what would you suggest if someone's struggling to see their reflection? Is there anything that you would suggest for that?
Well, can be a little bit tricky because it depends, I guess, on why you're struggling to see, whether that's because of glare, where you might need a pair of glasses that take away glare and things like that. Um, or it could be that you would like to try a magnifying mirror that will make your face bigger so it's easier to see. I know the RNIB at least used to, I think they still do, sell a mirror with magnification so that you can see yourself closer up, which might help.
Thank you. And we've got talk about any advice in Berkshire. It's actually there's one called Berkshire Vision. So I would say in
Mm,
Berkshire, go into so there'll be again you can have a look on what they have in Berkshire Vision. So I would advise you to contact them. So now this is one about so this is a common this is a commonly available on an iPhone or Mac computer or any other similar machines. Which one? So all the facilities, which ones do people find the most useful?
do you mean apps and features and things like that?
I don't know. I'm thinking because obviously I use a smartphone, and
Mm,
sometimes there are apps like sort of Seeing AI
mm, mm.
and my
Be my
what's it
eyes.
Be My Eyes, which are
Mm,
good, but also in terms of kind of like the accessibility
mm,
functionality actually in the settings themselves. You can actually get them to do reading over things and
mm.
I know that I was very impressed by the later version of the iPhone where you can point and it will take a picture and it will use I think it uses ChatGPT to actually use to
Get a
actually identify the
description.
pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, I use that a lot for pictures. So for context, I'm blind. I can see light and dark out of my right eye, but that's it. So obviously, pictures on the phone don't necessarily tell me very much. So I use Be My Eyes or Be My AI, as it's called, the part of the app, to get information about photos and pictures. I can then copy the description and then save it onto the photo. So when I use VoiceOver, the built-in screen reader on Apple products, and I put my finger on a photo, it will automatically read out the description of the photo that I saved. So I can identify the photos that I want to find, for
Do you have
example.
to
So
set
there's
that up? Do you have to set voiceover? Because obviously, I think we've had a bit of
yeah,
clarification. It's actually talking about the accessibility functions in settings. So is that
mm,
something? So if you
yeah.
go in and set those up, once it's set up, it would do what you kind of different things.
Yeah, so VoiceOver is a screen reader, and a screen reader is software that will read what's on your screen if you can't see it or can't see it very well. So whenever I touch my iPhone, the screen of my iPhone, it will read out whatever I touch. I've been using my iPhone for many years, so I'm quite familiar with where all the apps are on the screen. So I'm quite quick in finding what I'm looking for. But um, on a website, it will read through everything. I use one finger to flick left and right to go to the next part, and left to go to the previous one. People might be aware of this already, but for if we have a few that might not be. Um, so that's the built-in feature of any iPhone, iPad, or Mac, or even Apple Watch, where you can have the information on the screen read out to you. Um, and yeah, there are a few hand gestures that you will have to learn, and that's something that we train people on My Vision Oxfordshire as well, when people need that kind of features to access
Yeah,
their
because I think
devices.
isn't it something to do with if you swipe one way or swipe up or swipe down, there are different just a
Mm,
different command. It learns
yeah,
how you're touching the screen or and isn't it how if you press down or light touch as well, it means different things in terms of the
yeah.
accessibility and
So
what it does.
there are quite a few sort of hand gestures and presses and things to learn. It might sound a bit much, but it's fairly intuitive. Of course, like anything, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's certainly not as difficult as it might sound. So I wouldn't want that to scare people off from trying it. Um, and there are, of course, lots of really good videos online on how to use it, but um, there's also like in-person training like My Vision Oxfordshire and some of the other sight loss charities around the country might offer that sort of training as well.
Yeah, I mean, yes, because obviously it's all very well saying you can watch a video, but if you have very little sight, then watching a video can be quite hard as well. There's nothing
Yeah,
beats being shown, I think,
no, exactly.
hands-on.
Some of the videos are quite good in that it's obvious what's going on, even if you can't see it. So that's sort of how I learned to use voiceover many, many years ago. I still had some sight back then, so that obviously helped a little bit. But um, some of the videos are made for blind people, so they're made so that you can access them
Like,
by just listening to them as well.
oh, that's good. So, yeah, because
And
it's
and
important.
a source of great help if people are looking into Apple devices is a website called AppleVis, so applevis.com, which is all about Apple products and visual impairment. So they have guides on how to use Apple devices. There are loads and loads of articles about helpful information about all sorts of things, posts about useful apps and games, entertainment, all sorts of things, really. So people might not know about that website, but I would encourage people who are interested to check Applevis out because is a good resource, definitely, to know
I
about.
I've not heard of that. What I mean, we've had one here. It says, "What about Android?" So obviously, not to leave the Android lovers
Yeah,
in the dark.
no, I must admit that I have a bit of mixed experience with Android. For me, so I say that normally that the less sight you have, the more sense most of the time it will make to use an Apple phone. Um, Mostly you can do the same things. It just seems to be working a little bit more seamlessly on Apple at the moment.
There is.
Um, but there's a screen reader on Android as well, which is called TalkBack. Slightly different gestures, some are similar. Um, the what I find, my experience is that how well it works with TalkBack depends on what kind of Android phone you have. Whereas with the Apple ones, you've got the benefit that they're all sort of the same. It will work whether you've got an iPhone 12 or an iPhone 17. It doesn't matter. It will be more or less exactly the same. Um, but then if you don't know when you're getting an Android phone how well it's going to work with the TalkBack, if that's what you need, I guess that's the problem sometimes, where certain phones might work slightly better with TalkBack than other Android phones. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with an Android phone and TalkBack and that. It's just, um, yeah, it might take a little bit more setup sometimes with certain things, and but it all comes down to what you're used to. So if you've used an Android phone for past 15
So
years,
yeah,
obviously that's going to be easier for you. Um,
I know that there are equivalents, and I know that I was watching. I was on a website. It was I thought it was My Vision Oxford, but it was maybe another one. But there are around where if you have whatever tech you have, there are workarounds to be able to have
mm,
accessibility options.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
And if someone came to you with an Android phone, then obviously you would manage to sort of
yeah. Of
support
course,
them. I
yeah,
know
yeah,
that for sure. I know you would.
absolutely,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so we've got someone is they're in danger of losing vision. So I'm so sorry about
Mm,
that. But they can still read and see images at the moment. So
mm,
where might they find about researching new tech that could help when they can no longer read easily? That's kind of obviously forward planning,
mm.
trying to make
Yeah,
sure that
which
they've got access.
which is a good thing, I think, because I think that helped me with when I was losing more of my sight. Um, because when you've got the visual references of where things are and what they look like, it might then be easier if you're going to start using a screen reader. So I might encourage to try using a screen reader even when you've got some vision, because it will make it easier for you, I think, long term if you ever have to rely fully on a screen reader. but especially on a smartphone. Screen reader for a computer is slightly different. It takes a little bit more effort and time to learn because you have to be very familiar with a keyboard. You have to more or less be quite confident with touch typing for it to be first before you can fully use the screen reader on a computer. And that's why it's quicker and more intuitive for a lot of people to use a screen reader on their phone nowadays. At
Yeah.
least if you're starting out from not having used the screen reader ever before.
So, are there any kind of, I mean, you gave us that fantastic Apple Viz, so it's Apple
Mm,
VIS, isn't it? .com.
com.
Is
Mm.
there any other websites that you know of that would
Um,
be a really good source of kind of like everything to help? And because sometimes it can be overwhelming, I'm guessing. But if there's anything
mm,
that you would
definitely.
recommend,
So I could just mention as well that Applevis do a podcast as well. So if you prefer to listen to information that way, that might be an option. Uh, of course, their podcast won't cover everything that the website does, but at least it's another way of accessing that sort of information. Um, I think Applevis is probably one of the best ones, but is also following your local sight loss charity on social media if that is accessible to you, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, anything where you can find them if you're able to, um, because a lot of charities might post about useful things to know. Um, we certainly do at My Vision Oxfordshire, and I assume a lot of other charities do that as well.
so I've got. Oh, actually there's another one. It's another good podcast called Double Tap.
Oh yes, I've heard
So
of that. Yeah.
that's and then someone else mentioned as well that obviously they use kind of obviously lots of other apps and stuff like that. So
Mm,
on there, I think the things disappeared, but they answered questions. Someone have said as well that there's some interesting accessible kitchen products on your site. Can you talk through some
mm.
of those things like bump-ons and
Okay.
other
Yeah.
things?
Yeah. So one of the simplest things ever are what we call bump-ons. They're little plastic bumps that you peel off and you can stick them onto anywhere, whether that's your microwave, washing machine, dishwasher, hob, wherever, your remote control, anywhere where you just need to make something little bit more tactile and easier for you to find the right button or find the right setting that you need. Some people, for example, on a microwave might stick one bump on for 3 minutes if you've got a dial, and then when you turn the dial to point at that bump, it's 3 minutes, for example. But it could be anything where you just need to make something more tactile. And when it comes to kitchen things, there are a lot of other things. A lot of people might be aware of the liquid level indicator, little device that you hang on the side of a cup or a glass, and it beeps and vibrates when you pour something in and it comes close to the top, so you don't overspill or overfill and spill whatever you're doing, whether it's a cup of tea or a glass of water or whatever it might be. Doesn't really
It has a
matter.
little second beat, doesn't it, to allow you because it allows room for
Yeah,
the milk.
yeah. So it beeps even quicker and vibrates even quicker when you're coming even closer to the top. So that's a handy one. Um, there are talking cooking thermometers. They're talking kitchen scales, all sorts of things. There's one thing that the RNIB is selling, which I think is really nice, is called a non-spill mug, and it's you sort of need to experience it, I think. So you set it down and you can't knock it over. You can push all you
Oh,
want. You can push really hard, and you just won't knock over. It's some kind of suction when you put it down, not on the table, but like inside, because it's like in two parts. The mug, somehow. I have no idea how it works exactly, but it's really cool. And it comes with a lid as well. So if you're carrying it, you won't necessarily spill if you've got the lid on. And if you lift it from the table, if you lift it just straight up, it's very easy to lift it. But if you sort of knock it from the side, you just can't knock it over. So it's a good one to know about as well. It's always annoying when you spill a cup of tea or whatever and you have to clean
Yeah.
up and you can't necessarily see where it all went, and it's
I
just
think that's
annoying.
useful for most people, actually,
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
fair.
not just visually impaired people. Then, of course, there are companies that do talking air fryers, talking microwaves, talking
Wow.
induction hobs. We had an accessible kitchen day at my Vision Oxfordshire in November last year, where we had a look at the microwave, the air fryer, and the induction hob all talking. Um, and yeah, they're really good. And from a company called Cobalt Systems. And I particularly like the talking air fryer because it's a convenient way to cook, and you
Mm,
don't, less chance of you sort of burning yourself accidentally and spilling things and dropping things, I guess. And it speaks to you, so you know what temperature and what time. There are presets as well that you can use, and yeah, it's a good product, and it's not overpriced either, which is nice because some adapted products
yeah.
for visually impaired can be quite expensive sometimes, but it's not more expensive than any other air fryer really, which is a positive, I think.
I didn't know that. I mean, there are
Yeah.
there are some certain things that kind of maybe that are accidentally accessible as well. I mean,
Mm,
do you
mm.
that weren't necessarily made? I mean, so is there anything? What's kind of like one of your key things that you would recommend that doesn't? It's not because obviously you're not having to pay the premium of it being accessible,
Mm.
because it's just a normal product.
Um,
I mean, I was thinking like motion sensor lights and stuff like that.
mm,
That they
mm.
kind of like they and even things. I don't know about the tech like kind of ring doorbells or anything. I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
going to mention the A word because she's going to chime
yeah,
in. But
no.
obviously, we
Look,
have smart speakers.
the Lady A can be quite helpful when you haven't got any vision. And with one of the doorbells that you mentioned, you can get the sound come through your Lady A device, and you can check who's out there before you open the door if you're concerned about that sort of thing. Um, and yeah, so that's certainly something that's sort of accidentally very helpful. Another one that's sort of accidentally very helpful, which some of you might have heard about, which is very popular at the moment, the smart glasses. So one of the
Yes.
ones are the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses, not at all made with visually impaired people in mind, but they just happen to be very helpful. Um, so that's also something that's accidentally sort of very helpful, I think. And for those who don't know, you connect the glasses to your phone and you can speak to the glasses. You can use them to get information of what's in front of you. It will take a picture and analyze it and describe it to you. It can read things out to you, whether that's, I've used it in a restaurant to read the menu independently, and you can be as broad or as specific as you want. So I'm vegan, for example, so I'm only really interested in vegan options. So I asked my glasses, what are the vegan options on this menu? And it picked them out and just read the vegan options to me. So I didn't have to sit there for 25 minutes listening to all the dishes.
That's
um,
that's that's incredible.
yeah, so that can certainly be very helpful, and you can use them to send and receive text messages, phone calls. You can make video calls on glasses as well, so that friend or family member can see what's in front of you and read something out to you or sort of guide you. I used it where we live. The bus stop is a temporary one, so it's not very obvious where it starts and ends and things. And when I need to take the bus, I made a video call to my mum, who could tell me that I walked just a few meters too far. I needed to go back because here where I live, you can't feel with your cane. It's just like grass, really. So you have nothing to go on.
Oh, no feedback.
um, yeah, so it's not very obvious where you're supposed to stop. But yeah, so they can be helpful for all sorts of things, really.
Yeah, so obviously, We can even, like, someone said that they use their Lady A to use this Philips smart, lights and stuff like that as well,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
and
definitely.
also this they've also been using their kind of Ray-Bans for, I think, 1.5 years, and they love them.
Mm,
Um, I know I have a colleague that his partner uses them for identifying plants in the garden.
mm,
Um, so it's such a lovely way of having that
mm,
on your fingertips.
definitely, and can be very handy. It's good to know that they're not absolutely perfect. They can sometimes give you misleading information. Most of the time is accurate and accurate enough. I tried identifying points that I had in my hand and asked it um, how much it was like in total, and he couldn't accurately give me that information for whatever
Okay.
reason. So it's good to know that they are really good and they can be very helpful in many different ways, but they might still have some limitations to them. Um,
Yeah. To
yeah,
use with maybe with a bit of caution. So,
yeah, yeah.
so we've
Not trust them completely.
no. They use as a tool rather than totally reliant,
Mm,
I'm
mm,
guessing.
yeah.
So we've had a question here about, do you know of any easy radios that don't lose stations? Do you recommend any radios?
Um,
Oh,
for us, we tend to get them donated to us, our charity sometimes. So it's not always the latest ones that we get to see. I know that the RNIB sell an accessible radio, and I know uh, British Wireless for the Blind is a charity. They have a lot of different devices on their website. Um, you might have to check the website to see if you are eligible to apply for one for free. But otherwise, there might be ideas of what devices are available and how they work and which one might be most suitable for you for your needs. And then obviously you could go back to the company that sell that particular device and buy it that way, I suppose.
yeah. I think were they issuing smart devices as part of that as well? Because you can listen to the
Um,
radio on a
yeah,
smart speaker.
I know that they've recently updated the products that they offer and don't offer. So that might have changed. So I'm not 100% familiar with what they actually offer now, um, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
But
we've obviously.
yeah, they might do.
I mean, I use, obviously, we call it Lady A. So we're going to rename her.
Mm.
I might actually have to rename her here, but I use her to play me stations.
Mm,
So obviously, it's quite. I mean, and we use our smart speakers all the time at home
mm.
for timers and
Timers, reminders,
asking,
all sorts of
just
things.
asking random stuff that I don't
Mm.
have to sort of like Google. Um,
Mm.
so I find that, and I've even got. I mean, I have a really kind of tinny one that was only, I think it was about a tenner that I plug in, and I have that in the conservatory because it's not great for listening to, but
Mm.
it can still act as a timer. And
Mm.
I mean, I know that when it's kind of Amazon Day or something like that, I will get, they're
Mm.
kind of quite heavily discounted. So
Mm.
they
Yeah, they
are. I
are.
mean, I know other smart speakers are available. I'm not kind of selling
Mm.
them, but it's
No.
whatever you want to use. I find that they're actually quite. Once you have one, you don't realize how you're going to use it. And then once you have a
Mm.
smart speaker, you realize actually you can use it for quite a lot,
Mm.
more than you think. So I'm just looking at some of the questions that we had earlier as well. We talk about, maybe you talked about kind of like when you were on your the temporary bus stop and stuff like that.
Mm.
So how would you how is there anything accessible that, apart from obviously using your glasses, how you could support you with that? Getting the bus and
Yes, I use VoiceOver on my phone, of course, the screen reader. I use an app called Move It, Moovit,
okay.
to check when my bus is arriving, and then with VoiceOver on, it will announce the stops as I go. because the local buses here, they don't have any announcements. They don't even have a screen so that sighted people know what the next stop is. So
Well,
they'll just have to know.
at least it's the same. At least it makes everything level.
Yeah, yeah. So the app will let me know how many stops are left and my estimated arrival time to where aiming to go. Um, it won't give me step-by-step directions to the bus stops. I need to find my way there, but at least it will let me know the stops we drive past and when it's sort of getting time to get off. And yeah, there are
So
other
how does
apps
that?
for navigation as well.
So how would you? So you use this
Mm,
move it app.
mm.
But how would you? When you're on the bus, does it just know that you're on a bus, or do you have to tell it the bus company and the
Yeah.
route, or?
So you search for where you're going from and where you're going to. Then you select one of the options that it comes up with, and then you press a button that says start, I think it does. And then it will sort of assume that you're on the bus, and it will track it as you go. How it does that, I'm not sure, but it does.
Okay, it might be
So
have a
I've
GPS in there or
yeah,
something.
yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah.
Because I've never had any problems with it, showing me the wrong information or anything. Um, I know for some, I've never had the problem as a voiceover user. I know some people with some sites say that there are a few ads that sort of um, blocks what the information that you're trying to see, um, and you can pay to get rid of them. But if you're
Hmm.
using voiceover, it seems to ignore the ads. I've never noticed any ads in there. I think not
Oh,
certainly
so
not that it made it so that I couldn't do what I was trying to do.
you found a
Um,
hack.
yeah, it seems
A
to be
hack.
anyway.
Um, so what about when you're shopping? How would what technology would be when you're kind of
um,
making sure you buy your, especially if you're kind of like you're with a making sure you don't, your dietary
mm,
requirements. Obviously,
mm,
you know, you make sure that you're vegan, but it could be someone that's gluten intolerant
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or any kind
Um,
of dietary.
so for me, who is confident using my phone and technology in general, I find it easier to do online shopping. So through the apps, most of the apps are quite accessible, um, voiceover accessible at least. And I can check the ingredients of things. Obviously, I've been vegan for quite a long time, so I know sort of what products I usually have, and they tend to be
Yeah,
okay. So you sort of just know after a while. Um,
yeah,
and I assume it's the same for gluten and things. You
yeah, it
just
is.
learn what sort of things you can have and you can't have. I personally find it easier to do that because I can take my time to find the products that I need and want, and it's just more convenient. It would be very confusing for me to walk around, Sainsbury's on my own, not being
Hmm.
able to see, not being familiar with the entire layout of the place either. I know I'm not sure if it's still going. I know there was at least an initiative with Be My Eyes, the app, to
Hmm.
connect with a sighted volunteer, especially for a Tesco shop, where they had people assisting people finding the products they needed in Tesco, and sort of through the camera on your phone or your device, they would sort of help you find what you were looking for. Um, and I don't know if that's still going, actually. I haven't checked, but I know that was an initiative a few months ago. Um, And I guess the glasses could be used in a similar way. If you are confident moving around the shop, you could have someone, a family member, a friend, who could describe what was in front of you or double check that you have the right thing, um, if you can't necessarily tell yourself. Um, Things like that. Um, and seeing AI, you can take a photo as well and get a description, and you can do that with Be Mice as well. So there are many different ways depending on what would work best for you, I guess.
That's brilliant. I think we've probably got to the end of our questions. So unless anybody else has got anything else, I would say a huge thank you to Andres. I've learned so much. I've been jotting these things down, I've been writing.
Mm,
So it's been absolutely fantastic. So thank you.
mm. Yeah, no,
Thank you
it's
very
my
much.
pleasure. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So we're going to now share our final poll, um, and hopefully share what we've learned, that we've learned something tonight. I know I definitely have. And I'm not going
And
to share my screen. We're going to be totally screens free. So please contact the helpline for any questions. So if you or me, because I know that when you've registered, you will have my email. If there's any kind of local site charity that you can't find, I might have them, or I might know someone that does know.
and
Um,
of course, if you're in Oxfordshire, you're very welcome to contact My Vision Oxfordshire, and we're very happy to help you in any way we can.
Absolutely. And actually, before I
Poll
go
is
as well,
complete.
say again, Peter.
The poll is complete.
Poll is complete, thank you. And as well, I would say that one of a gentleman I spoke to this evening, he mentioned Sightline. Sightline is a really good way of, if you're kind of like needing some extra kind of like support, emotional support, Sightline will really help you as well. So, and he also, this gentleman uses Gemini, so he quite likes Gemini because he's obviously an Android user. So,
Mm.
but other AIs are there. So AI is there to help us. So you
Yeah.
can call the helpline with any of the questions that you might have afterwards on 01233 or you can email us on helpline@glaucoma.uk. So coming up, our next two webinars are a research update, which is next month, and that's on the 22nd of April at 7 o'clock. And then we have normal tension glaucoma on the 15th of May, also at 7. So I'm just going to just say to sort of say thank you for to Andreas. And obviously this wasn't really about kind of eyes and treatments and stuff like that. But just if you are suddenly deciding to make any kind of decisions that may affect your eyesight, then please make sure that you do contact your consultant first. But thank you for joining us on this webinar. We really, really value your feedback. So we'd be very grateful if you could complete the evaluation form that's going to be sent out in that kind of email tomorrow. Uh, and then in the next day or two, you'll be able to find a copy of this webinar in the support group section on our website or on our YouTube channel. If you just Google YouTube Glaucoma UK, you'll find all the past webinars on there. They'll either be in the live section or the video section. So thank you very much this evening to Andreas and for all of you guys for joining us on this lovely evening. And hopefully you'll see us all next month. So I'm going to sort of end the webinar and thank you to Andreas. Have a lovely evening, everybody. Bye bye.